She killed her husband. Then she sat her 3 little boys down and helped them write a children's book about how much they missed their daddy. She went on morning television, she smiled, she promoted the book, she told the hosts it brought her peace. And the whole time, she knew exactly what was in his bloodstream the night he died, because she put it there. Her name is Kouri Richins. The verdict came in 3 days ago. And this story, every single layer of it, is one of the most cold-blooded, most calculated, most unbelievable true crime cases to break in years. You are not ready for how deep this goes. Welcome, or welcome back. This is where we tell the stories that deserve to be told. Real people, real crimes, real consequences. No fluff, no filler, just the full truth, every time. And if you are new here, this story is a perfect introduction to exactly what we do. Now listen, this case just broke. The verdict was delivered on March 17th, 2026. The sentencing hasn't even happened yet. This story is as fresh as it gets, and that means you have the chance to share it before it floods every platform on the internet. Hit that like button, share it right now, and subscribe, because every single week we are first to the stories that matter. It is completely free for you, but for us, it is the fuel that keeps this going. Now, let's go to a quiet mountain town in Utah, and let's talk about what really happened to Eric Richins. Part 1. The perfect family in the perfect town. Kamas, Utah, a small, picture-perfect mountain town about 40 miles southeast of Salt Lake City, the kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked, where the air smells like pine and snow, where a family of 5 living in a beautiful home near Park City looks like they've got everything figured out. That was the Richins family. On the surface, Eric Richins was 39 years old, a devoted father to 3 young boys, a man his friends described as someone who had every reason to live, someone with warmth, loyalty, and a future stretching out in front of him. Kouri Richins was 33, ambitious, obsessed with appearances. She ran a house-flipping business, drove expensive cars, wore designer clothes, and projected to everyone around her the image of a successful, affluent life. Her friends said she wanted people to see her as wealthy, privileged, put together. The problem was, none of it was real. Behind the Pinterest-perfect facade, Kouri Richins was drowning. Her real estate business was not flipping houses. It was imploding. By the time Eric died, she was carrying over $4.5 million in personal debt. She had taken out mortgage fraud schemes, issued bad checks, laundered money, and racked up debt, in many cases in Eric's name without his knowledge. And Eric had started to find out. Part 2. The marriage that was already over. By 2020, Eric Richins knew something was very wrong. He quietly consulted a divorce lawyer. He then met with an estate planning attorney and did something that would prove critically important later. He opened the Eric Richins Living Trust, placing his entire estate under the control of his sister Katie in the event of his death. Trust, placing his entire estate under the control of his sister Katie in the event of his death, for the benefit of his 3 children, not Kouri, his children. He also began quietly trying to remove Kouri from his life insurance policies. But Kouri had already been several steps ahead for years. Between 2015 and 2017, before the marriage visibly began to fracture, she had secretly taken out 4 life insurance. Without telling him, one of those policies included a forged application with an incorrect social security number because Eric hadn't signed it. She had signed it for him. The total payout if Eric died, approximately $2.2 million. Eric Richins had more than $4 million in assets. Kouri Richins had negative $1.6 million in net worth. And while all of this was unraveling, she was also having an affair. His name was Robert Josh Grossman. He was her business partner in the house-flipping venture, and according to testimony at trial, the 2 of them discussed their dreams of building a future together, a life Kouri was apparently determined to make a reality, one way or another. Part 3. The Michael Jackson drug. Here is where the story shifts from a complicated marriage into something far darker. In early 2022, Kouri Richins contacted a friend and asked to purchase medication. She asked for something for an investor. Then she escalated. She asked for something stronger. According to prosecutors at her trial, she specifically asked for, and this is the detail that stopped the entire courtroom, she asked for the Michael Jackson drug. Now, if you know anything about the death of Michael Jackson, you know he died from a propofol overdose administered by his own doctor. But investigators believe Kouri Richins was actually referring to fentanyl, a synthetic opioid so powerful that a few milligrams can kill a grown adult. She wanted something lethal. She wanted something that killed. Her own housekeeper, a woman named Carmen Lauber, testified at trial that she personally purchased fentanyl pills on Kouri's behalf. And a drug dealer on the stand confirmed pills were sold to Lauber during that exact window of time. Kouri Richins now had access to one of the most lethal drugs on the street. And on February 14th, 2022, Valentine's Day, she used it for the first time. Part 4, Valentine's Day, the dry run. On Valentine's Day 2022, Kouri made Eric his favorite sandwich. She laced it with fentanyl. Kouri Richins ate the sandwich. Within minutes, he broke out in hives. He began struggling to breathe. His body was going into reaction. In a panic, and this detail is almost unimaginable, he grabbed his young son's EpiPen, injected himself, took Benadryl, and collapsed into sleep for several hours. He survived, and he told no one what happened. Not the police, not even apparently his full suspicion to his family. Though his sister later told investigators he had believed years earlier, during a trip to Greece, that Kouri had also tried to harm him then. Kouri Richins survived Valentine's Day, but he would not survive the next attempt. March 4th, 2022, Kouri told Eric she wanted to celebrate. Her real estate business had just closed on a property. She made him a drink, a Moscow Mule cocktail. According to her own writings found in the family home by investigators, she also made a lemon drop shot. They drank together. They went to bed. At some point during the night, one of the children had a nightmare. Kouri told investigators she went to sleep in the child's room. At 3 a.m., she called 911. She had gone back to the bedroom and found Eric cold to the touch in the bed. Responders arrived. Kouri Richins was declared dead at the scene. The medical examiner performed an autopsy, and what the toxicology report revealed caused investigators to go very still. Kouri Richins had 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his bloodstream. Not a trace amount, not a recreational dose. 5 times the amount it takes to kill an adult male. The medical examiner confirmed the drug had been ingested orally and that it was illicit. Street-grade fentanyl, not prescribed, not medical grade. And there was something else. His gastric fluid also contained a sedative, an antipsychotic medication sometimes used as a sleep aid, something to make sure he went to sleep and stayed asleep. The prosecutor would later say in closing arguments that the amount in his system showed Kouri Richins wanted Kouri Richins not just dead, but quote, good and dead. Part 6, the phone that broke it all open. For over a year, Kouri Richins walked free, and then investigators got her phone. What they found on that device was extraordinary. Search after search, in the days and weeks surrounding Eric's death, painted a picture of a woman not grieving, but calculating. She had searched, can cops force you to do a lie detector test? She had searched, can deleted text messages be retrieved from an iPhone? She had searched, lethal dose of fentanyl, and the one that truly floored investigators and would later electrify the courtroom. She had searched luxury prisons, not grief counselors, not how to support children after loss, not funeral arrangements, luxury prisons. She was already thinking about what happened if she got caught, and she was making sure it wouldn't be too uncomfortable. Part 7, the book. This is the part of the story that nobody who hears it ever forgets. In March of 2023, exactly 1 year after Eric died, Kouri Richins self-published a children's picture book. It was called Are You With Me? A story about a young boy coping with the loss of his father. She said she wrote it with her sons. She said the process brought her peace. She went on a local Utah morning television show, Good Things Utah, and smiled into the camera and talked about grief and healing and the love of a mother for her children. She told a local radio station it helped bring her boys comfort. She promoted it across local media as a devoted, grieving mother who turned her family's pain into something beautiful. And at the time she was doing every single one of those interviews, she knew her husband had not died of a natural overdose. She had poisoned him. She had purchased the drug. She had put it in his drink. She had watched him take it. She had waited. Prosecutors would later point to the book at trial, not as a work of grief, but as the final act of a cover-up, a calculated performance to rewrite the story of Kouri Richins' death before anyone came knocking. Someone did come knocking. On May 8th, 2023, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with the murder of her husband. Part 8, the trial. 3 weeks, 40 witnesses, 1 verdict. The trial began in February 2026 at the Summit County Courthouse in Park City, Utah. It was expected to last 5 weeks. It lasted 3. Over 13 days of testimony, prosecutors called 40 witnesses, forensic accountants, toxicologists, insurance agents, drug dealers, the housekeeper who bought the fentanyl, the ex-boyfriend who had discussed a future with Kouri while Eric. They walked the jury through the phone records, the deleted messages, the insurance policies, the forged signatures, the financial collapse, and the digital trail of searches that read less like a grieving widow and more like someone running a very careful, very cold operation. The forensic accountant testified that Kouri's net worth was negative $1.6 million the day after Eric died. His life was insured for over $2 million. His estate was worth $4 million more. The prosecution's closing argument delivered a line that reverberated through the entire courtroom. She wanted to leave Eric Richins, the chief prosecutor said, but she did not want to leave his money. The defense argued that the investigation was biased, that the state never definitively proved how the fentanyl entered Eric's system, that there was reasonable doubt. They pointed to an alleged drug dependency of Eric's, which his own friends and family flatly denied. They argued Kouri's internet searches reflected the paranoia of an innocent woman who feared she was being set up. Then the defense rested, without calling a single witness. Kouri Richins also chose not to testify. On Monday, March 16, 2026, after 3 hours of deliberation, the jury came back. Guilty of attempted aggravated murder for the Valentine's Day sandwich. Guilty of 2 counts of insurance fraud. Guilty of forgery. All 5 counts. Every single one. When the judge read the final verdict, Kouri Richins bowed her head and went still. Outside the courthouse, Eric's sister Amy stood in the cold Utah air and said what the family had waited 4 years to say. Honestly, I feel like we're all in shock. We're just very happy we got justice for my brother. Part 9. What happens next? Sentencing is scheduled for May 13th, 2026. That date is not a coincidence. May 13th is Eric Richins' birthday. He would have turned 44 years old. Kouri Richins faces 25 years to life in prison for the aggravated murder charge alone. The judge has the discretion to sentence her to life without the possibility of parole. She also still faces 26 additional felony charges in a separate case: mortgage, fraud, money laundering, issuing bad checks. A second trial that has not yet been scheduled. And the children's book? Are You With Me? It has been quietly pulled from circulation. So here is what this story leaves behind. 3 little boys who lost their father. 3 little boys who then watched their mother write about that loss for the whole world to see, not knowing, or perhaps in some way sensing, that the grief was never real. Eric Richins, a man who went to a divorce lawyer, a man who quietly updated his will to a man who survived 1 poisoning attempt and went to sleep the night of his death, not knowing the drink in his hand was his last. He had every reason to live. He had 3 reasons, actually, all under the age of 10, and the woman who took him away from them had the audacity to sit in a television studio, hold up a picture book, and talk about healing. This case is not just about fentanyl or insurance fraud or a marriage that fell apart. It is about the terrifying gap between who someone appears to be and who they actually are, about how the people closest to us can become our greatest threat. And it is about Eric Richins, who deserved better, who deserved to see his boys grow up, who deserved to come home from that mountain town and be someone's father for decades more. If this story shook you, good, it should. Share this video right now, because this case just closed. The verdict is 3 days old. Most people still don't know the full story. You sharing it is how the truth travels. We will be here, will you? I will see you in the next one. Until then, hold your people close and stay safe out there. This one was for Eric.